So we are taking a look at Achilles from the Unmatched games. So Achilles is from the Battle of Legends Volume 2 set. Achilles is the famous character from Greek legend. Achilles mini here with all of his armor and the spear. It's pretty awesome looking. Achilles is accompanied by his sidekick Patroclus, and the exact relationship between Patroclus and Achilles has been speculated on by scholars for some time. But in the story, Patroclus dies, and when Patroclus dies, Achilles gets really angry. That's relevant to what we got going on here. Achilles is a melee fighter with a health of 18. 18! Yeah, that is a lot, guys. Patroclus is also melee and has a health of 6. 6 is not very high. You're going to see why here in a moment. Achilles' special ability. When Patroclus is defeated, discard 2 random cards. What? Add +2 to the value of all Achilles attacks. And if Achilles wins combat, draw 1 card. So you can see here that once Patroclus dies, Achilles is going to lose some cards. So you're going to lose your sidekick and you're going to lose some cards. So that's not good. But then Achilles turns into a boss. This is, I will tell you, the second part of while Patroclus is defeated. If Achilles wins combat, draw a card. That is one of the easiest abilities to forget about, and that's kind of a big deal because this isn't, if Achilles wins combat, you may draw 1 card. You just straight up do draw a card. So it is going to be absolutely relevant to the game that he does keep up that card draw. That is going to be if he attacks or if he wins combat when he is attacked. So important actually that your opponent may keep track and make sure that you are doing that because, yeah, it's very relevant to the game. Well, let's take a look at Achilles' cards here, and we're starting off with a scheme. Okay. Spear throw. Achilles has 2 copies of this. Deal 2 damage to an opposing fighter and Achilles' zone. If you're saying this looks like Medusa's momentary glance, well, you're right. Achilles' heel. Well, we knew this was going to have to be a card. I mean, what he is famous for is that he was dipped into the mystic river Styx or something by his mother, and his mother held him by his ankle, and since he didn't get the magical waters on his ankle, that is the only place that he can be defeated. It is his weak spot, so much that the term Achilles heel is still around, meaning the weak spot in some big giant thing. And the tendon down there in your heel is named the Achilles tendon after this dude. Defense of 4 after combat. If you lost to combat, your opponent gains in action. Yeah, you don't want to lose when you play this one. So try to time that when it's not something really big coming your way. You never know what it is. It's kind of a risky card there, but you got to have something to be your Achilles heel. Under Achilles Helm, you got 3 copies of this. If that card art seems to imply something to you, well, you're probably correct in that implication. So a defense of 2. Immediately, if Patroclus is not defeated, Achilles may swap spaces with him. If he does, Patroclus is now the defender. All right, so one thing that's going to happen, and we'll get into this a bit about when it's good to do this and when it's not. Most of the time, most of your opponents are not going to really want to attack Patroclus because of this. You don't want Achilles going crazy because Patroclus died, so they just won't ever attack him. So has this guy ever die if people don't attack him? Well, under Achilles' Helm is one way to do it there. You go to attack Achilles, and then Achilles is just like, psych, it's not me, it's Patroclus. you're now attacking him and you're taking him down in health. And you might actually kill him and set off Angry Achilles. And Angry Achilles is not a good man to have around. Okay, is that all the Achilles cards? That is all the Achilles cards. What? Where are his attacks? What? Yeah, that's weird. Patroclus! Battle Frenzy, attack of 3 after combat. Deal 2 damage to both fighters in the combat. Yeah, that's another way that you can deal damage to Patroclus. Patroclus can come up and attack you, and he ends up dealing 2 damage to himself. They really thought out ways for Patroclus to be able to die. He's an easy guy to die. Day of your doom. Attack of 3. During combat, you may deal 2 damage to Patroclus. If you do, the value of this attack is a 5 instead. Well, yes, please. I think I will deal 2 damage to Patroclus. Most of the time, you're probably doing that, but, there's times where it may not happen. That's all the Patroclus cards. This is all the Achilles cards, and this is all the Patroclus cards. That means, all of this are innies. What does that mean? Well, that means that you can have Patroclus just run out there and go nuts while he is alive, if you're not worried about keeping him alive, because there's a lot of cards there that he can use. Finally, getting into some attacks here that Achilles can use. Test for weakness. This is his bonus attack, the new type of attack card that we have here in Battle of Legends Volume 2. This is an attack of 1, followed up by Relentless Assault, which is an attack of 3. Now, something to think about here, now that we're getting into these, when Achilles attacks with these get ramped up by 2. Patroclus is dead, then this is a 3, followed up by a 5. And that is getting hefty. You also have to think about the fact that if he wins both of these, that is 2 cards that he is drawing off of this, because that is 2 separate attacks. Brothers in Arms, 3 of these. This looks like that scene out of Predator.
Dylan! You son of a bitch.
Attack of 4. If Patroclus is not defeated, gain an action. So this is always an awesome card, because if Patroclus is around, you're gaining an action. Action gains are useful. If Patroclus is dead, it's a 6. So boom, that can be useful. Getting into some versatiles now. Blessed by Hermes. Move each of your fighters up to 3 spaces. They may move through opposing fighters. So if you need to just get out of an area, you can do that. And of course, I can ramp up to a 5. Angry Achilles using it on an attack. No bonus for defense. Battle Hardened. Now this is a card here. Versatile of 2. Choose a card in your discard pile and return it to your hand. So you can just pull cards, whatever cards you feel like, out of your discard pile. If your other Battle Hardened is in there, you can just cycle that back and kind of just keep cycling these guys back. Make sure that you always have some sort of defense, or to be able to just recycle it as 4 attacks as long as it doesn't get canceled. Or you can pull back whatever other cards you want. A lot of times people like pulling back Spear Throw because that's auto damage. They can't do anything about it. 4 spear throws, that's like 8 damage on auto damage. That's pretty good, especially with a guy that gets angry and hits big and kind of has like a permanent Big Alice thing going on. Skirmish. You know this one. He's got 3 skirmishes. Versatile 4. If you want the combat, choose one of the fighters in the combat and move them up to 2 spaces. And yes, ramps up to a 6. With Angry Achilles using it as an attack. Wily Fighting, versatile 3. After combat, deal 1 damage to each opposing fighter adjacent to your fighter. This comes right out of Robin Hood's deck, where it was something specific to him, but now it is an Achilles card. And finally, Feint. He does have a feint. Versatile 2, cancel all effects on your opponent's card. But you asked a question, why wouldn't you want Patroclus to die? Why would you want to not do that? Well, there's a few reasons for that. Now that we've kind of looked through that there, we got to think about, do you want Patroclus to die? Well, one thing to think about is that you lose 2 cards out of your hand, and they are random cards that go out of your hand when Patroclus dies. So you kind of want Patroclus to die when you have a lot of cards in hand. And if you lose Patroclus cards when he goes away, that would be awesome, but you don't always get that. You see that Patroclus cards do generally have some pretty good boost values on them. His 4 specific ones have 2. Under Achilles Helm, once Patroclus is dead, this really becomes a pretty bad card because it's just a blank 2 essentially, and that's really not doing a lot to help you out. But 3 copies of a 4 boost, that can help you track down and run down some folks. So it is usable for that. But this, if Achilles wins combat, draw a card. Achilles can end up exhausting himself because you're going to, just winning all of those combats, you're going to keep drawing cards. And so you can get into a spot to where, particularly if you're exhausted and you got everything out of your deck there, you get into a spot where you need to win combat to not, lose health. But if you win combat, you're going to have to draw a card, and you're going to take 2 damage for doing that when you're exhausted, and you're going to take damage. So yeah, it can get Achilles into a bad spot. And there's some matchups, particularly if you have to constantly go through a bunch of attacks to get through someone, that it can just not be good for you to have him go out there. Your opponent may see that you're low on cards and try to take Patroclus out and run you out of all of your cards so that they can then get some attacks on you while you don't have anything in hand. I mean, the card draw can definitely help keep you in the game, and you've got enough high boosts with the Patroclus cards and with Under Achilles Helm that you can really run and chase somebody down really well and keep up pressure on them. But once Patroclus goes out, you kind of have to do that because it just puts Achilles on the clock, and he is just going to burn himself out if you don't go after it and get it done right then when you need to. If Patroclus dies, you are never going to win on exhaustion. You just can't do it. So anyway, that is a look at Achilles. If you have any thoughts about Achilles, you could go down into the comments and leave them there. You can give this video a thumbs up and a like. And you can also take a look at my channel and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss any of the videos that I post. We'll see you around next time.